Corey.
Hey!
Jesse here again to talk about how to homebrew D6, which you'll find on your player's manual on pages 175 and 176. I think Jesse has always said that from the beginning, this game was meant to be homebrewed.
Looks like it has a D&D feel to it. Again, not D&D, but it has that feel, and that's a lot of homebrewing. Now, not to be confused with make it up as you go along.
Right.
We set out the rules, again, so there is a foundation to build upon, play upon. And from that point on, though, you could add certain things to give your game some variety. So you want to change it up.
Now, keep in mind that while we put this in your hands, if you do break the game, this is on you. We've given you a solid foundation. If your homebrewing gets so outlandish that you just can't do anything with it, you need to roll it back a little bit. Quit trying to make so much out of it. Enjoy the base of it and just add a little flavor.
They'll get it. As you go along, as you start understanding the rules, you'll know what you can start bending and stuff. A lot of things are in place because we've tried other ways, and it was, your stats, the way they're set up, how much gold you're allowed to carry, how many monsters on the board at the same time. All of this has been tested, but, if you, like I said, you want to bend it up a bit, go for it. Start off with a homebrew of creature quota. Now, when the game was first created, right now you could have as many monsters and players in one space as you want. Well, we didn't know sizes of the tiles. Things weren't developed then, so we had put a max of 3 monsters per space, because if you grab a small space, you put your 3 monsters, plus you might have 2 terrain there. We were worried that it would get bogged down and things would just be a big mess in that space. So as time went on, we actually trashed that rule. But as a homebrew rule, we here have still done that there's a max of 3 creatures or 3 enemies per space. And I think we mainly do it out of just habit.
Yeah.
But it is a homebrew that we enjoy doing.
One of my favorites is the Mercenary Cube. As I stated before, the cube cannot attack its original owner, but if you pay 4 gold, that Mercenary Cube now works for you and will turn on its owner. So that's a nice kind of take that you can do in the middle of a game if the player and its cube are in the same square at the same time.
A little Mercenary Cube, a little cubinary. One I like. Mm-hmm. Now, Curse Castles, they are meant to, they are a homebrew item.
Right.
One of my favorite things when we've played, like we'll put a curse castle, because people usually keep them on land and it affects that specific spot. We had the Curse of the Rising Tide. Now this one was a really fun one. Anywhere touching water, if a player rolls the lowest on any dice, so a 1 on anything, whether it's their stats or an attack or whatever, a monster is spawned in that space. We've also done one where it was like Curse of the Dead, and we moved it in the undead area, and if any dice is maxed out, we randomly spawn a monster on the board, and that kept monsters going. But there's stuff like that, so think outside the box. Don't just think about, if this castle's in this space, you get a +1 there. It's +1 to anything. Think broad. Let's say you don't get the curse castles. Let's say you didn't get the expansion. These tiles are also used that way. So like a fun one, there's this little door here. I could put at the beginning of the game, say, okay, this is a secret to any castle, any dungeon, but I could put it wherever I want. I could actually put it in thick brush and say for 1 gold coin, you pay the ferryman or pay the troll, and you could jump to any castle or any dungeon. And that's a really fun one. So think like that. You don't have to have the curse castles. Just use these tiles or use whatever. It could be a gold coin, and that becomes your little homebrew.
And just because these are called cursed castles, don't think that every effect has to be negative.
Right.
You can add, an extra life back to your board rather than having to run to the village.
Which is a curse to the other player.
Right.
So there's always a way to spin it. But yeah, they're homebrew castles. But it didn't sound as cool as Curse Castle.
Right. One thing that we did want to add in the book on pages 80 through 82 is kind of a make your own section, such as make your own GM events. You can use a D8, D12, a D20, add up these to make your own GM events. We've got lined paper in the back that you can add in your own text. That's a lot of fun. Now, while Brent did a great job in creating all these different events,
well over 100,
you may have some in mind that are specific to your group, where the monster is somebody's mother or something like that.
Yeah, thematically.
Yeah.
I like the mother puns you could have. If you do one that's a D8, you could make 8 thematic, almost your mama jokes.
Right.
That when you roll it, you know. Or it could be zombies, you could have an undead thing, but by not having to deal with 100 of them, you and your group could specifically set up 12. So when your marker moves, the DM event, you just roll that one die, you roll the D8 or D12, and it's very thematic for what y'all came up with. In fact, they could sit around at the beginning and each do a couple and come up with
Sure. Yeah, that's something fun that if you've got a group that you always play with, let everybody take a few and then add it to the book so it really becomes your property, really becomes something that you're really proud of.
I've already seen some really fun ones out there. So yeah, people have been going off with it. It's nice.
Jesse mentioned a little bit about the tokens.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the game comes with these little punch outs. Now in the book they're used, but there is a section where if you want to write your own up, you can. So like Mimic's one of my favorites. Now, if I come up with something unique and fun for this Mimic, there is a chance, 1 out of 100, that I could roll this Mimic.
Right.
But at that point, it doesn't even matter because you'd swap the Mimic out, or you could roll again or whatever, because it's going to be so rare. It's never happened to us yet. We play a lot, but at the beginning, you could come up with your own little backstories and then place those tokens out, and they can affect everybody. It's a homebrew way to really utilize these tokens. That's what they were there for. The entire purpose is to let players do a little their own backstories and coming up with fun things.
And I know that when we created this game, originally we were thinking, this is quick, one session games, but if you guys are truly into the RPG feel of it and the elements, we did include a character sheet in the back for you to really go in depth into the history of your character and keep track of everything.
In fact, we've, I think, since updated the sheet that's in the book to make it, because I was using the sheet in the book and I wanted it to be more convenient, so I figured I'd make it convenient for everybody. So there is a link where you could now go and print that sheet off. And I tried to remove all the color and stuff so it's not going to kill the printer. But it's really fun because it tracks. I think the one in the book says, use one of each weapon. How are you going to know what one of each weapon is? Because we found ourselves thumbing through them going, wait a minute. So the new list actually has a checklist. And you become proficient in weapons once you use them all. There's kill like one of each monster, and you all of a sudden you get these +1s.
Right.
It's not a game-breaking thing. It's a +1, but it's fun. It's something. It's a little accolade to shoot towards.
Yeah. So that's the basics of homebrewing. As always, we defer to you guys. What do you want to do? Make it happen. Switch up the dice, switch up the characters, have fun with it, make it so that it is personable to you and your group, and please send us all your ideas, send us photos and videos of you guys playing, because we love that type of stuff.
To watch the family, and we have a few, these guys sitting around just having a good time with their drinks and their game buddies. It's fun. It's really nice. It's a good reward, a good payoff for us when you work on something and you realize that people
especially for as long as we worked on this one.
Especially. So and it's again, it is what it is. It's just a quick one-off to have fun with. Don't overthink it. We give you the rules to keep you moving smoothly, to stop the arguments. But from that point on, if you want all the monsters to have a +1 or -1 or free reroll or whatever, go for it. Test it out.
So thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope that these videos were really helpful to you. If you have questions or comments, we'll have some links down at the bottom to join our Discord server, where everybody there is more than happy to answer the myriad of questions that you have.
They've already shared stuff on there. They've shared Homebrew and they've shared Curse Castles. And if you have some cool ideas, you can go put some on there. It's a great community.
Head over to our website, certifiablestudios.com, where you're going to find links to a lot of things that we've mentioned as far as the Homebrew. You'll find the living PDF of this book there, where we're going to be changing some of the typos and some of the errors that may have gotten through our many eyes over the time that we looked at the book. So,
many errors for many eyes.
So check out our sites. Make sure and stay involved, because this thing is ever changing, and we'll have updates as far as maybe there'll be an expansion further down the line. Maybe we'll have some fun little goodies that you can place in there. Stick with us on social media. We'll make it worth your while.
Yep. Thanks for joining.